Long Haul Larry, and it is time to get on to this 7.3 liter diesel Power Stroke build. We're working on our F350. We've been doing all kinds of different things with the frame and everything else, getting to this point and stuff, and I actually am getting ready to start this motor build. We're going to start this thing up. I had a special tool. I was going to start this yesterday. And I had a special tool for doing the injector cups, and I had bought this thing probably 6 months ago or so, and I cannot find it. And I have searched everywhere and can't find it. So I had to order another tool and everything else to do that. So it's supposed to be here tomorrow. So I've been working on the frame, doing other things, but now it is time to start working on this actual engine, start piecing this back together. I figure I can get the cam bearings in there, work on this stuff tonight, and get all this in. I can put crank in and all this and pistons and get all this different parts all going and everything. And then I just have to work on the heads and stuff like that, and I can do that tomorrow and everything. So we're going to do cam bearings tonight. This is where we're going to start on this engine build. I have taken this block in. The heads have been taken in. Connecting rods have been taken in. Everything has been gone through by a professional machine shop. I like to start out with something that I know is going to be good. And I've done some research around. And there was a gentleman, there used to be a machine shop in Fond du Lac that I used to go to. It was called Blakely. And they had all the machining equipment to do this stuff. And they have actually done a reefer motor for a refrigerated unit that I did. I actually bought one off of John, and the motor was pretty much junk. And I ended up pulling the motor and taking everything in and having it redone. And then I reassembled the motor, and that thing ran for years, and I ended up selling it, and I actually made some money. But they actually ended up getting out of the machine shop business, and they told me that they sold it to this trucking company in Fond du Lac. And I talked to a couple different people that I knew and stuff, and they were telling me, oh, go here, go there. And nobody's really heard anything about these guys. And I went to a couple different places, and people were telling me 6 months, they're 6 months out, blah, 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 all this different stuff. And I went over and I found these guys, and I had a conversation with them. And I'm going to tell you, I liked them a lot. Just talking to somebody, you can get that feeling, you can have trust with them and everything else. And we talked and stuff, and we had a conversation, and I felt that trust right away. Their name is JTL Trucking. I think it's JTL Truck Repair, and it's in Fond du Lac, Wisconsin. And they do just everything, anything to do with trucking. If you're coming through Fond du Lac, Wisconsin, and you need an issue, if you're having a little bit of issue, I would call these guys. I would put I'm going to put a link in the video description. And if you ever have an issue and you're in Wisconsin and stuff, I'm telling you, call these guys. I was very impressed with them. I thought they were very honest people. Their pricing was very good. They did all this work for me and everything, and it was really good pricing. They took care of me. I did not at all talk to them about YouTube and being sponsored or nothing like that. But I kind of don't do that with a lot of people and stuff. But I really feel they did a great job, and I was very astounded by the level that they did with all this and everything. And they have professionally gone through. The block has been completely checked. All the surface has been redone and everything. Everything is within spec, and they have given me the green light to go ahead. I have also ordered a complete rebuild kit for this engine. This is a 2002 7.3 liter Power Stroke out of my F350. And I have ordered a complete rebuild kit. And it actually is this right here. The rebuild kit is over here on the side. But right here is the instruction manual, instruction sheets for overhaul kit. I don't know. I haven't even really looked at this and stuff. But it has all the different documentation. And what's really cool, it's all Ford parts and everything in this whole kit and everything. there's a lot of different kits out there, but it's like aftermarket stuff and everything. And you know what? This engine made this 300 and almost what I think it was like 330, 340,000 miles. And guys, it was actually in good shape. But it's time for a rebuild. You know, everything was starting to rust and everything, so this truck needed to be gone through. But I kind of like the idea of doing a Ford. I can't get this out, but I'm trying to. The one cool thing about it is it shows all the gaskets, and it has all these different identification cards for the gaskets and everything. And it has this whole deal here. And it actually shows all the different gaskets, where they go, what they're called, what they're all called, and everything else. Everything that goes into the engine. And I think that's pretty cool. So it shows everything that comes with it. It's basically everything that it's going to need. And these guys, I got this kit from a company called, I'm going to mispronounce this, Jeli Built. It's Jeli Built. And these guys actually did sponsor me a little bit, and they gave me a price break. I talked to them about the YouTube and said I'd be doing a video and stuff, and asked them if they wanted to be part of this. And they came back and they knocked some price off of the kit and everything, and then I ordered some other things from them and everything, and they gave me price breaks and all that stuff. So they have given me a price break and everything on it, but I'm going to tell you that this stuff here is very high quality and everything else. It's an actual Ford rebuild kit. It isn't like I'm blowing smoke up their butts or nothing else. This is good stuff. So, now I got all that out of the way. Now we're going to actually start on the engine build. And I got a lot of different stuff. This engine is going to be built up really nice. The only difference is I am not going to be boosting this engine. There's a lot of aspects in this engine that I'm upgrading so that if I ever did plan on boosting it, I can boost it without tearing the motor back apart. But I'm not going to, because I'm going to tell you right now, I have driven this truck for years now, and I have never once said, wow, I wish I had more power. I have never, ever had that thought. And so I think, you know, and the one thing about the 7.3 and why people like this engine is because the engine is really a solid platform. It's really beefy and everything else. And it lasts a long time. These 7.3s run forever. And the main reason why is because they are so beefy of an engine, but they're underpowered. There is so much room to put more power into these engines to make these engines really super powerful. And there's a lot of guys that do it. There's a lot of guys on YouTube and everything. They really boost these things. They actually drag race these pickup trucks and all this stuff. Build them with huge boost power and everything else and do all this stuff. And that's all great and everything. I've just never really come across that situation. I've hauled some big heavy stuff and everything else. And I have never went, man, I wish I had more power. And so I'm just going to keep it the way it is, but I am doing an upgrade on a lot of different things. I talked with the guys with the Jeli Build, and I had conversations with them and everything else. And I'm like, you know, this is what I'm doing. What about this? And what about this? He came with a list of recommendations. You know, if you're going to do this rebuild, this is what I would do. This is what I would do. And he didn't try to upsell. He was talking about a couple things that he's like, you know, hey, you could do this right now. And I'm like, you know, well, how much is that? And he'd be like $2,000. And I'm like, is it really necessary for what I'm doing? And he was like, no. He goes, have the ones checked out that you're doing. If they check out good, you're good to go. And so I've gone through all that. So the first step on doing this is going to be putting new cam bearings in. This block has been all machined down and everything else. I have cleaned this block. I have been scrubbing this block for probably 2 to 3 hours. And I had this thing all greased and everything to keep the surfaces so they didn't rust from when I had it machined and everything. And cleaning up all the surfaces, it's been quite the ordeal. But this is the cam bearing set that comes with the kit. And it is Durabond. And basically, it is a set of cam bearings. And you can see them right here. It is just a set of cam bearings. And I could have had the machine shop do it, but a lot of the stuff I want to do by myself. And that's why I'm doing this and everything. And there, I'll show you where they go in there and stuff. But basically, the really important part of it is these holes right here have to line up to the oil holes in the block. There's oil port line holes in the block, and you have to make sure that these holes line up. And that's what we're going to be doing and everything, is doing all those. These are all the same. There is, you know, these notches and everything on them and stuff. That's nothing really. It basically just tells which way they go and stuff. There is one bearing in the kit that is a different size. It's this one right here. It's bigger. And these little notches and everything, I have found that they're kind of a directional thing. They kind of face forward towards the front of the motor. And that's the way the ones were that when I pulled them out, they had the same notches on them. And the way that I kind of looked at it and wonder why and stuff. I looked at it, this one here, this hole, this oil port hole is actually offset. It's closer to one side than the other. And I have looked at the oil port hole in that bearing in a journal, and it's actually closer to the back. So that means that these notches do go to the front. So it's a directional notches, that's what those are for. So to install these, I needed a cam bearing installation tool. And I used to have one of these when I used to work on the Mack trucks, and I used to work at this other trucking company, and I used to have one of these things. It was a little different than this one, but pretty similar. But I have no idea. I think it stayed there. I never did bring it back with me or something. I think it stayed there. So basically, what happens here is you need to find a collar that fits. So that one doesn't fit. It's gonna be this one right here. And so you need to put your cam bearing on there, okay? And that's going to go on there. And then you need to stick this part here, and they have these like grooves cut in them. That's where they separate, and you need to line those up with the ones that separate on here. And you basically just press them in there, just like that. And when you do that, then you take the tool here and you tighten this onto here, and you just take a wrench a little bit and you just crank it a little bit tight. You don't need to crank it a lot because you don't want to expand this bearing here, but that's just going to hold it on here. And then you're going to take these, and you can put this one on here, you can screw this end on, whatever, and you're going to take a hammer and you're going to actually press it with a hammer. You're going to hammer the bearings in there, and these little deal right here goes on here too, so that it goes into the first cam one, and this sits in there, this cone, and that's what keeps it straight, so that you're putting the bearing in straight. It's a very simple procedure, and but the main thing about it is you've got to make sure that these holes line up in the oil journals, and I'm going to show you guys that quick. All right, so where these are going is down here. This is where the cam is going to go in down here, and this is where that wider one is going to be down here. And there is 5 of them. And you can see these right here. You see this hole, this is the cam bearing. You gotta be very careful with these two. These things are fragile. But you see this hole, when that gets pressed down in there, that hole has to line up. This hole right here goes all the way through. There's an oil journal inside this block that the oil is pumped through, and it delivers oil to the cam and also delivers oil to the crank. And these holes have to be lined up. If you put this in there and you turn this and this hole is not lined up with that hole down there, it will not let oil into the cam as the engine is running. It will not run long. So these have to be lined up. And the way that you have them lined up is you start to press them in there, and then basically you'll take a light, and if you see here, see how the light shines down through there? You can actually look down through the hole and you can actually see down inside there, and you can see down into there, and you can just keep pressing in until you get it lined up. So basically what you want to do is you want to loosen this one up. You want to take this off, and then what you're going to do is you're going to put this through. Actually, you need to take this off of here. Might fit through now. Yeah. This tool's gonna fit all the way through. And we're gonna stick our cam bearing on. We start to tighten that up. Didn't get it. Go. Don't need to crank on it, just so it's snug. There we go. That's a good place. And then we can just start to put it in there. And we just want to have the hole lined up. And then on the other end, there's this cone. And if you press the cone in here, that centers the tool, and you kind of put your hand on there. And that will get it centered. So we're just looking down. We're getting it straight. It's going to be right about there. And then we just take a hammer. And we just tap it. Now you want to go real slow on this. We want to get this lined up with that hole. Okay, so now I cannot see the hole yet. Just take your time. Okay, I'm just starting to see the hole. I got the edge of the hole lined up right now. Got about half, almost 3/4 of the hole showing. Just a little bit more. Keeps fooling me. Just a little bit. You don't want to go too much because then you got to pull it back out. then you'll have to pull it back out, and you may damage the bearing pulling it out and put it back in again. Right, there we go. She's good and lined up. I don't see any edges around it. So then we put our wrench on the end of our tool here, and we just start unthreading it. That loosens it back up. Can't get my wrench off the end of the tool. And then we just pull the tool up. And we can double check it. Now we got it all. We can see good light down through there. Oh yeah. We're right lined up with the hole. So now the bearing is right where it's supposed to be. The hole is lined up. That's very, very important. So there you go. So there's the number one. That one is in. And now we'll move on to the rest and do all the rest of these. It's pretty much, you know, it's the same thing over and over again, just setting them in there. Big secret to this is to take your time, go very slow, and make sure everything's lined up. Okay. Good. There we go. We got all our cam bearings in. So we got this done now. The next stage is going to be to get the cam ready. And I have a brand new cam. It's right here. And this is a stage 2 cam. Basically what that means is if you want to up the horsepower or the lobes are a little bit off, different setting, you can do that. Right there it is. And I have to clean it all off, get all the goo off of it and everything else in case I'm rusting. It's just a little bit different. You can see where the cams ride on those bearings right here, these surfaces. But the thing is that I need the cam gear. And right here is my cam gear. And what I need to do is I need to take this off. It's really not that difficult, but I'm not going to take it off at this very moment. I don't know how well you can see this cam, but you can see the wear marks in the center. And on, I don't know which lobe it was, but there was right here, there's a little chip out of this lobe right here. It's right there, there's a chip out of there. And it's worn pretty good through the finish on this one. There was about 3 lobes that I saw that had some chips in it. So while I'm doing this, it's just better just to replace the cam. All right, guys, we are back at it again this morning. And we're going to get our camshaft ready. This is our old camshaft. And we need to have this gear put on the new camshaft. Basically this gear and this thrust plate right here that holds the camshaft in. We need to transfer over to our new camshaft. There is no bolt or nothing on. These are just pressed on, or you can heat them. And they're pretty easy to change over. A lot of people that worry about them, that they're going to come off or something like that. They're not going to come off. If you want to get these off easy enough, you can heat them. You can heat up the actual gear itself out here. You won't need much. But the shop here has been real cold. So everything is real cold right now. So if you just heat up the outside of the shaft a little bit, just get a little bit warm. It'll come off pretty easy. That should be enough. Just a little bit of heat, not much. Doesn't have to be red hot or nothing. Then you want to get yourself a Posi-Lock puller. This is a new one I just bought because I have two other ones, but they're smaller ones, and I wasn't sure it was going to fit the gear. So you put these on, and then you tighten this outside nut, and that clamps the jaws onto the teeth. And you always want to make sure that you put oil on these Posi-Lock ones. I have one down there that's broken, and that's the reason why it broke, was because I ended up, it was dry, and when I sat there and hammered on it with the impact, it actually was just dry thread screwing in there. And it just would not go. But you just keep tightening it on there. And you kind of, on this here, you kind of want to line up the puller with the frame of it. Okay, now we're getting there. So now we're gonna clamp her on good and tight. Just like so. And what that does, these clamps over the jaws and keeps the jaws so that they can't separate off of it. That's what these Posi-Lock things do. This is actually not a genuine Posi-Lock puller. You can buy a Posi-Lock puller, and I have one genuine one, and I have one generic one. This is a generic one too. And nowadays everything's kind of a knockoff, but you can get these, and these things, they last pretty dang good. Then all you basically do is just wrap on it. There you go. So I'm just getting this set. So I have the thrust plate on here, and it doesn't look like it's directional, goes any direction, but I can see from the wear pattern on it, the little grooves that are into it, that it goes this way. Sits on here, kind of moves around and stuff. There's a shoulder on the cam that's just a little bit higher. That's where this gear is going to sit against. And then on the old camshaft, you got to take the keyway out and put the keyway in this one. And I got that all set up. And our gear, the timer just went off. So we're going to take a peek at it, see what we got for temperature. Okay. So we're showing at 400 or 300 degrees. Not sure how good this little oven works and everything. You know, I just bought it from Goodwill, but we're gonna give her a shot and see if she'll go on there. Basically, you want to have some good welding gloves because she's gonna be hot. And then you want yourself a dead blow hammer. You know, a good dead blow hammer or something that's not gonna mark it up and everything in case you got a bead on it a little bit. We gotta be pretty fast about this because it's gonna lose speed. Basically what you do is just line it up. Now we're just going to let her cool down and everything, and our cam will be ready to go on there. I left the plastic bag on here because I'm not going to clean the surfaces off because it's got this stuff on here, this residue for keeping it from corroding or rusting or anything. And I don't want to, it'll probably be later today before I do that, so I don't want this sitting on all day long.